A warning has been sent out to Max Verstappen. One former Formula One world champion told the Dutchman what he needs to steer clear of if he wants to keep winning. And despite performing at a level we only get to see once in a generation, as Christian Horner put it, some people still aren't convinced of Max's greatness because of this one thing. What is it? We're about to find out, so keep your eyes on the screen. Verstappen kicked things off from the 6th spot at Spa, but he quickly snatched the lead from his teammate, Sergio Perez, on the 17th lap and breezed through to clinch victory. He left Perez trailing by a substantial 22-second gap, while Red Bull's closest contender, Charles Leclerc, found himself trailing by 32 seconds. In the ongoing season of 2023, Red Bull has been absolutely unstoppable, with their RB19 securing victory in all 12 races up to now. According to Horner, the remarkable aspect lies in Verstappen's control over Perez and the seemingly effortless manner in which he secured the win. This situation, Horner believes, highlights a truly exceptional phenomenon taking place within the realm of Formula One. He said, "I think there was superiority over everybody at the moment. Generally, it has been outstanding, and what we're witnessing with Max at the moment is something that you see once in a generation." When questioned about the distinct capabilities of Verstappen, who is well on his way to securing his 3rd consecutive Drivers' World Championship, and how they set him apart from Perez, Horner responded by saying, "Like all the great drivers, he just has that extra capacity. What we're witnessing and seeing with him at the moment is his ability to read the tire, to read a race, to extract absolutely everything out of it. It's great to see. I think he's just at the top of his form at the moment." When Motorsport.com asked Red Bull's advisor, Helmut Marko, whether Verstappen's performance still has the power to catch him off guard, the Austrian's response was, "Well, if you were 8 tenths ahead in qualifying, then you know there is still some reserve and some extra margin. But it is also about how smart and clever his driving is nowadays. He thinks about all the overtaking moves and can read the races incredibly well. This is what you hear in these conversations with his race engineer as well. It is unbelievable what he is showing at the moment, but that goes for the whole team. There is almost no pit stops lower than 2.5 seconds. The strategy is fine, and we haven't had technical issues so far, so the entire team is doing an unbelievable job." Even though Max Verstappen is miles ahead of the competition, Nico Rosberg, the 2016 world champion who beat Lewis Hamilton in equal machinery, has sent him a warning, urging him to remain vigilant against complacency, despite his ongoing domination of the 2023 F1 season. Verstappen secured his 8th consecutive victory, and Red Bull's 13th in total, during the recent Belgian Grand Prix. This triumph further solidified his hold on the World Championship. Securing his 10th victory of the year at Spa, Verstappen's impressive tally now stands at 35 wins out of the last 56 races, tracing back to the inception of his inaugural championship-winning season in 2021. The dynamic between Verstappen and Red Bull is marked by a strong sense of assurance, with a notable example being his calculated pit stop in the final laps of the Austrian Grand Prix. This move, aimed at claiming the fastest lap bonus point, serves as a compelling illustration of the deep-seated trust shared between the driver and the team. Rosberg openly expressed his fascination with the remarkable showcase of supremacy demonstrated by Verstappen and Red Bull. Yet, the German emphasizes that alongside this astonishing success lurks the danger of complacency, which has the potential to undermine Red Bull's aspirations of achieving an undefeated season. While making an appearance on the Sky Sports F1 podcast, he said, "He generally needs to be careful that he doesn't get complacent. He's in such an incredible flow, where no one can touch him, and that's usually when there's a risk of getting complacent, and you lose a bit of motivation, so he just needs to be a bit careful of that. But I don't see that happening, because the state of mind that he has is phenomenal, and he's just so focused and so in the zone all the time. It's like art. It's amazing." That being said, there are still some people who aren't big believers in the Dutchman. Richard Bradley, a former victor of the Le Mans 24 Hours race, says that Max Verstappen cannot be categorized as one of the all-time Formula One greats due to the absence of Grand Prix victories in cars that rank lower in the hierarchy of development. At 25 years old and boasting 2 world championships under his belt, Verstappen's trajectory has been resolute. Since making his mark with a victory in Barcelona in 2016, the Dutch driver has consistently clinched at least one race win every season. He presently holds the 5th position in the list of all-time Grand Prix winners, but Bradley is unconvinced that this is enough to bestow upon Verstappen the status of an F1 great. During his appearance on the On Track GP podcast, Bradley explained himself, saying, "For me, Max hasn't proven himself properly in a car which doesn't have the capability to win yet. I'm not talking one which had a possibility to win, I'm talking one which really didn't have a chance to win. But whereas you look at the real greats, Senna, with that 1984 driving the Tolman, but then winning in an uncompetitive Lotus when his teammates weren't on the podiums, then he went into a good car. But even when the McLaren wasn't good in 93, he still won races in it. You look at Schumacher, he won the World Championship in that Benetton when his teammates were absolutely nowhere, took Ferrari and was winning races in 1996, when again, they were nowhere. You look at Hakkinen, he was winning races before McLaren were in a position to win the championship. Prost has won the most races not starting in the top 4 of anybody in history. Going back to the Vettel factor, Vettel won a race in that Toro Rosso, and was consistently in the top 6. Now let's talk about matters happening on the other side of the garage. Sergio Perez has been facing escalating scrutiny because of his trouble keeping up with his Red Bull counterpart, Max Verstappen. Despite both drivers piloting identical cars, the Mexican finds himself trailing by 115 points behind the Dutch front-runner as the season reaches its midpoint. Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko openly advised the 33-year-old to snap out of it and forget about his championship aspirations, but Perez isn't having this type of negativity. The ex-Racing Point driver remains resolute in his belief that he can outperform Verstappen and is determined not to settle for a second-place position in Formula 1. However, it appears that the Red Bull team isn't entirely convinced of Perez's capabilities. The team in Milton Keynes thinks that Verstappen occupies a league of his own, and it's high time for Perez to stop drawing comparisons with the 25-year-old prodigy. In a recent interview, Sergio Perez emphasized his focus on aiming for victories as the second half of the 2023 season is set to kick off in late August. Following this declaration, he underlined his stance that his participation in F1 is not geared towards taking a backseat to Max Verstappen. He said, "It's not to finish second that I'm here. I'd rather be at home doing something else if I was only aiming for that. I'm here because I know I can do it, and I've done it before." Continuing the conversation, Perez highlighted that there are instances when people fail to grasp the challenges that drivers undergo. To illustrate his point, the 33-year-old referenced Daniel Ricciardo's experience, citing how the Australian driver faced difficulties during his time at McLaren before making a return to the grid with AlphaTauri this year. Despite Perez's determination to contend for victories in the latter half of the 2023 season, the prospect of vying for the championship this year appears to be a challenge beyond his immediate control, as noted by Helmut Marko. Unfortunately for the Mexican driver, this sentiment isn't exclusive to the 80-year-old. Red Bull team principal Christian Horner has also shared his insights on the matter. Much like Helmut Marko, Christian Horner openly acknowledged that contending for the championship this season is likely to remain an elusive goal for Sergio Perez, unless an unforeseen disaster happens to the Dutchman. The Red Bull team principal went on to stress that Perez's current priority should center on his individual races, and that he should shift his focus away from the championship pursuit. But what do you think? Does Sergio Perez actually stand a chance against Max Verstappen, or is the Mexican driver being delusional? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell for the hottest F1 news.